Well, back to our top national story today. Former President Donald Trump arraigned in a D.C. courtroom on 4 felony counts related to his activities after the 2020 election and preceding the January 6th Capitol riot. The former president pleaded not guilty to all the charges.
Joining us now to talk about the day's events is Stan Twardy, former U.S. Attorney for Connecticut. So, Stan, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. It's great to be here with you all.
All right, so we're learning some new information, and we got to ask you, why is former President Trump's legal team trying to delay this case? Wouldn't they want it to go quickly as possible?
No, I think this is part of their whole approach also with the documents case down in Florida, that they want to have this thing troll out, take as long as possible, and hope that former President Trump becomes President Trump after the election in 2024 and get the cases dismissed. It is going to take a period of time in any event for these cases to come to trial. He now has 2 federal criminal cases against him. He has a state court case in New York, criminal case against him, and soon to have a Georgia criminal case against him, together with a number of civil cases. And just to schedule all those trials, is going to be take some time to do. Yet throwing into that also the presidential or the nomination event for the Republican Party, it's just going to be a very busy time period. I feel sorry for the judges trying to juggle everything that's going to take place before they can set down the trial dates.
So will this trial be held in D.C.? Do you think the former president's legal counsel arguing it should be moved to possibly West Virginia? How likely is that?
I think it's unlikely, but not impossible. When I was U.S. Attorney here in Connecticut in the late 1980s, there was actually a case that was moved out of the Southern District of New York into Connecticut because the judge who was sitting on the case thought it would be hard to get an impartial jury in New York, moved it to Connecticut. The defendant was convicted in any event, but that's very rare to happen. And just like I think it's rare, it's unlikely that the government will move to have the case in Florida moved outside of Florida because of the jury pool in Florida. I think it's unlikely to happen, but it is possible. The issue is going to be for the judge, whoever the judge is that ultimately tries the case, to get a fair and impartial jury. And given the notoriety of Mr. Trump as an individual, given the politics of this, the hard part is going to be getting jurors who can say, you know what? Even though I've heard of Mr. Trump, I know who he is. Even though I know of this case, I will confine my decision to the evidence that's presented to me in the courtroom, and that's going to be the difficult part of this.
Certainly, yeah. The proceedings were pretty quick today, but we are staring now that 2024 presidential election season. So, what's the timeline for Trump's trials following, especially this appearance today? What's next?
Well, we know that the case in Florida is set down for trial in May. I think the case in New York is set down for March. This is going to take 10 to 12 months before it would be ready for trial without other cases around. So I have a feeling that this case will go to trial, if it goes to trial, in the fall of 2024.
Wow.
All right, quickly, we just have one. I think it's going to be a short answer question, but prosecutors did not seek pretrial detention. The conditions of release for Mr. Trump are very minimal. Do you read anything into that?
No, those are standard conditions of release for virtually any white-collar defendant. I don't know if there was a bond, surety bond put in place in case he doesn't show up for trial. But Donald Trump is not going to go anywhere where he's not recognized. He's not a risk of flight, nor is he a risk of danger to an individual. So there is no reason for the government to seek pretrial detention.
All right. Stan Twardy, thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.